The Justice Department dropped its case against Michael Flynn, more than 3 years after the former National Security Advisor's initial interview with federal prosecutors that ignited the federal case against him. In this expose, we cover the article by Fox News' Brooke Sigmund. Ms. Sigmund lays out the complete and grueling timeline of President Trump's ex-National Security Advisor's legal horror show. For on April 29, 2020, a landmine dropped when the internal documents from the FBI were unsealed, revealing that top bureau officials discussed their motivations for interviewing Flynn in the White House in January of 2017, and openly questioned if their, quote, goal, unquote, was, quote, to get him to lie so we can prosecute him or get him fired, unquote. Will the president do what has been long suspected and grant his fallen cabinet member a full pardon? We shall see. We will show the circumstances that led to Mr. Flynn's pleading guilty of making false statements to FBI agents during a January 24, 2017 interview about his conversations with former Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak. We will show how this chance meeting was misconstrued and purposely manipulated to lead down the road of a coerced guilty plea. We will also show how this became the primary catalyst for the Robert Mueller special counsel, despite the fact that the Justice Department said in a court filing that they had lost the initial FBI 302 notes from the Flynn interview. We will cover every wild and insane twist and turn of this 3-year ordeal. Lastly, we will demonstrate very clearly why Dan Scavino, assistant to the President and White House Deputy Chief of Staff of Communication, called Michael Flynn an American hero. If you like what we do here at The Conservative Take, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button as well as that bell icon. Now, here's a look back at everything that's happened in the Michael Flynn case so far. Let's begin. January 24th, 2017.
Flynn, who at the time was National Security Advisor to Trump, was approached by a pair of FBI agents for an interview at the White House. They wanted to discuss his communications with then Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak regarding the sanctions in December 2016, which unbeknownst to Flynn had been picked up in a wiretap discussion. This interview would later form the basis for false statement charge and guilty plea.
May 17th, 2017.
Special Counsel Robert Mueller was appointed by Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein to take over the investigation of Russian meddling and possible collusion with Trump associates in the 2016 election.
December 1st, 2017.
As part of Robert Mueller's investigation, Flynn pleaded guilty to making false statements in the FBI interview regarding his talks with Kislyak. Flynn was charged with lying to federal investigators about whether he had talked to Kislyak about limiting the Russian government response to former President Barack Obama's sanctions for election meddling. His plea deal involved his full cooperation with investigators in the special counsel's office. According to the charge document, the false statements were that on or about December 29, 2016, Flynn did not ask the government of Russia's ambassador to the United States to refrain from escalating the situation in response to sanctions that the United States had imposed against Russia that same day. And Flynn did not recall the Russian ambassador subsequently telling him that Russia had chosen to moderate its response to those sanctions as a result of his request. On or about December 22, 2016, Flynn did not ask the Russian ambassador to delay the vote on or defeat a pending United Nations Security Council resolution, and that the Russian ambassador subsequently never described to Flynn Russia's response to his request. Flynn agreed to cooperate fully, truthfully, completely, and forthrightly with the investigation, with sentencing delayed until those efforts have been completed. Flynn was told he could be sentenced to federal prison for up to 5 years. Flynn gave his guilty plea to Judge Rudolph Contreras of the United States District Court for the District of Columbia. But days later, Contreras recused himself from the case. Contreras is also a judge on the U.S. Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court.
February 1st, 2018.
2 months after Flynn initially pleaded guilty, Mueller and Flynn's attorney filed a joint status report to Judge Emmett G. Sullivan requesting more time. Due to the status of the special counsel's investigation, the parties do not believe that this matter is ready to be scheduled for a sentencing hearing at this time. The filing from Mueller and Flynn's attorneys, Robert Kellner and Stephen Anthony, read, "These parties shall file a joint status report by no later than May 2018. stating whether the matter should be scheduled for sentencing or whether a deadline should be set for filing another joint status report.
April through May of 2018.
A Republican-authored House Intelligence Committee report on the Russian probe was released. The unredacted report said FBI agents did not believe that Flynn intentionally lied about the talks with Russia's ambassador. Director James Comey testified to the committee that the agents discerned no physical indication of deception. The report said they saw nothing that indicated to them that he knew he was lying to them. Comey, though, disputed the claims, saying, "Someone misunderstood something that I said. I didn't believe that and didn't say that."
May 1st, 2018.
The special counsel and Flynn's attorney filed another joint status report requesting that yet another 90-day delay for Flynn's sentencing.
June 29th, 2018.
The special counsel and Flynn's attorney filed yet another joint status report. Sullivan demanded information about why both sides had repeatedly asked for Flynn's sentencing to be delayed.
August 21st, 2018.
Another joint status report was filed by Mueller and Flynn's attorney signaling that the former national security advisor was continuing to cooperate with the special counsel. In July, Flynn's attorney said that their client was eager to wrap up and proceed to sentencing.
September 2018.
The special counsel and attorneys for Flynn said in a joint filing that the matter is now ready to be scheduled for sentencing. Both sides asked the judge to set a date for sentencing.
December 4th, 2018.
Mueller filed a memorandum recommending a lenient sentence with the possibility of no prison time for Flynn, stating that he has offered substantial help to investigators about several ongoing investigations. Given the defendant's substantial assistance and other considerations set forth below, a sentence at the low end of the guideline range, including a sentence that does not impose a term of incarceration, is appropriate and warranted, the memo said. Flynn sat for 19 interviews with Mueller's team and other Justice Department attorneys, according to the memo, and heavily redacted supplemental filing attached. The documents did not provide specifics about what exactly Mueller had learned from Flynn, but indicated that he had provided documents and communications about his time working with Trump administration during the transition period.
December 9th, 2018.
In a panel appearance with MSNBC's Nicole Wallace, former FBI Director Comey was asked how FBI agents ended up at the White House on January 24, 2017 to interview Flynn. Comey's response provided new details about the circumstances that fueled criticism of the Bureau's conduct. "I sent them," Comey said, adding that it was something I probably wouldn't have done or maybe gotten away with in a more organized administration. The interview was arranged directly with Flynn, which was not typical protocol. If the FBI wanted to send agents into the White House itself to interview a senior official, you would work through the White House counsel, and there would be discussions and approval of who would be there, Comey said, describing how things would normally work. Regarding his decision to bypass those steps, he said, "I thought, it's early enough, let's just send a couple of guys over."
December 12th, 2018.
Flynn's attorney said in a court filing that former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe nudged Flynn not to have an attorney present during the questioning that led to his guilty plea. The document revealed that the FBI took a significantly more aggressive tact in handling the Flynn interview than it did during other similar matters, including the agency's sit-down with Hillary Clinton and ex-Trump advisor George Papadopoulos, who also was charged with making false statements to federal investigators. Flynn's attorneys alleged that the FBI agents in his case did not instruct Flynn that any false statements he made could constitute a crime, and decided not to confront him directly about anything he said that contradicted their knowledge of his wiretapped communications with Kislyak. If Flynn said he did not remember something they knew he said, they would use the exact words Flynn used to try to refresh his recollection. FBI agents wrote in the so-called 302 witness interview report cited by the filing, if Flynn still would not confirm what he said, they would not confront him or talk him through it.
December 14th, 2018.
Mueller faces an afternoon deadline to produce a sensitive FBI document related to Flynn's interview. Sullivan's brief order stated that Mueller can choose to file the materials under seal if necessary. Sullivan also ordered the Flynn team to overturn the documents backing up their assertions. Sullivan has the authority to toss Flynn's guilty plea and the charge against him if he concludes that the FBI interviewed with Flynn's constitutional right to counsel, although he has given no indication that he intends to do so.
March 2019.
By early March 2019, Flynn sought another delay in his sentencing, saying that he could potentially cooperate further with the Justice Department.
March 24th, 2019.
Attorney General Bill Barr released the principal conclusions of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's completed Russian probe. Barr revealed that Mueller did not find that Trump campaign or anyone associated with it conspired or coordinated with Russians who worked on hacking efforts in the 2016 presidential elections, despite multiple offers from the Russian-affiliated individuals to assist the Trump campaign.
April 18th, 2019.
After 2 years of suspense, Mueller's report was released into the Washington's partisan scrum Thursday, showing investigators did not find evidence of collusion between the 2016 Trump campaign and Russia, as Barr declared in March, but revealing an array of controversial actions by the president that were examined as part of the investigation's obstruction inquiry.
May 29, 2019.
Mueller announced the investigation was complete and that the special counsel's office had been closed.
June 6, 2019.
Michael Flynn hired his legal team as he awaited sentencing, ending his relationship with Covington and Burling lawyers Robert Kellner and Stephen Anthony.
June 12, 2019.
Flynn, after firing his legal team, hired a vocal Mueller critic to represent him, his current attorney, Sidney Powell. Powell, a former federal prosecutor, upon joining Flynn's defense, said he would continue to cooperate with the government.
August 2019.
Powell filed a motion saying Flynn's case was still not ready for sentencing, citing her position as new counsel and the timeline of receiving necessary files and documents that would be critical to the defense of her client. Powell also claimed in the filing that the government was denying her request for security clearances needed to review classified material pertaining to Flynn, including transcripts and recordings of phone calls that supposedly underpin the charges against him.
October 2019.
Justice Department attorneys Brandon Van Grack, Jocelyn Valentine, and U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Jesse Liu, fired back against Powell and Flynn's defense, saying that their various information requests from the government were either irrelevant or seek information that has already been provided to them. The DOJ's attorney said Powell's filing in August was in fact an effort by the defendant to have his case dismissed. Since the beginning of their involvement, the defendant's new counsel have sought to get the charges dropped, professed their client's actual innocent, and perpetuated conspiracy theories, all while stating that the defendant does not intend to withdraw his guilty plea, they wrote.
October 25th, 2019.
Powell filed a motion urging the court to dismiss the entire prosecution for outrageous government misconduct. Powell at the time alleged that FBI officials manipulated Flynn's FBI 302 from his initial January 2017 interview with federal prosecutors. 302s are forms used by agents to report or summarize interviews.
October 29th, 2019.
Days later, U.S. District Judge Emmett Sullivan canceled a hearing citing Powell's motion demanding that the government produce all evidence related to Flynn and dismiss the prosecution altogether.
November 2019.
Sullivan agreed to postpone Flynn's sentencing again until release of Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz's report on the Russian probe.
December 2019.
Sullivan set a January 28th sentencing date for Flynn, but rejected his legal team's request for exculpatory information that may have been withheld by the FBI. Sullivan also said that Flynn waived his fundamental constitutional rights by pleading guilty to make false statements in the first place. Flynn's guilty pleas, Sullivan wrote, effectively bar him from raising claims based on any evidence obtained in violation of the Fourth Amendment. Even if Flynn had not waived his Fourth Amendment rights, Sullivan argued that Flynn still needed to establish that the requested information is favorable to his defense in order to obtain it, something he has failed to do, the judge said.
January 7th. 2020.
The Justice Department recommended up to 6 months of prison time for Flynn, claiming he has refused to accept responsibility for his actions. Given the serious nature of the defendant's offense, his apparent failure to accept responsibility, his failure to complete his cooperation in, and his affirmative efforts to undermine the prosecution of ex-Flynn associate Bijan Rafkian, the government recommends that the court sentence the defendant with the applicable guidelines range of 0 to 6 months of incarceration. Federal prosecutors wrote in a sentencing memo on Tuesday. Filing represents a stark change from the prior Justice Department recommendation, which suggested that Flynn receive a sentence at the low end of the guidelines range. Federal prosecutors in earlier suggesting that Flynn not serve any prison time had cited his cooperation with other federal cases, including special counsel Robert Mueller's Russian probe.
January 14th, 2020.
Flynn moved to withdraw his guilty plea for lying to the FBI, citing bad faith, vindictiveness, and breach of the plea agreement by the government. The prosecution has shown abject bad faith and pure retaliation against Mr. Flynn since he retained new counsel, Powell wrote in the filing. This can only be because with new, unconflicted counsel, Mr. Flynn refused to lie for the prosecution.
January 16, 2020.
Sullivan pushed back Flynn's sentencing again, bumping the date to February 27th, after Flynn motioned to withdraw his guilty plea.
February 9th, 2020.
Federal prosecutors proposed delaying approaching deadlines in the Flynn case. Prosecutors argued that the Flynn's former attorneys should testify after he claimed to receive ineffective assistance from them. The government requested that the court suspend the current briefing schedule concerning the defendant's motion until such time as the government has been able to confer with Covington regarding the information it seeks, prosecutors wrote.
February 10th, 2020.
Sullivan indefinitely postponed Flynn's sentencing date after federal prosecutors filed their motion to delay the deadlines.
February 14th, 2020.
Barr tapped U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Missouri, Jeff Jensen, to review Flynn's case. Jensen was assigned to work hand-in-hand with the lead prosecutor of Flynn's case, Brandon Van Grack.
March 15th, 2020.
President Trump said he was strongly considering a pardon for Flynn after reports that the Justice Department misplaced the records from Flynn's January 2017 initial interview with federal prosecutors. Whoops, we couldn't access this tweet. So now it's reported that after destroying his life and the life of his wonderful family and many others also, the FBI, working in conjunction with the Justice Department, has lost the records of General Michael Flynn, Trump tweeted. How convenient. I'm strongly considering a full pardon.
April 29th, 2020.
New internal FBI documents were unsealed in late April, revealing the top bureau officials discussed their motivations for interviewing then National Security Advisor Flynn in the White House in January 2017, and openly questioned if their goal was to get him to lie so we can prosecute him or get him fired. The handwritten notes written by the FBI's former head of counterintelligence, Bill Priestap, after meeting with the then FBI Director James Comey and then FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, Fox News is told further suggests that agents planned in the alternative to get Flynn to admit to breaking the Logan Act when he spoke to then Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak during the presidential transition period. The Logan Act is an obscure statute that has never been used in a criminal prosecution. Enacted in 1799 in an era before telephones, it was intended to prevent individuals from falsely claiming to represent the United States government abroad. What is our goal? One of the notes read. Truth/admission, or get him to lie so we can prosecute him or get him fired. If we get him to admit to breaking the Logan Act, give facts to the DOJ, plus have them decide. Another note read. Constitutional law professor Jonathan Turley called the document's implications chilling. The memo appears to weigh the pros and cons of pursuing those different paths. I don't see how getting someone to admit their wrongdoing is going easy on him, one note reads. Flynn did not ultimately admit to wrongdoing in the interview. Documents indicate that the agents at least discussed the merits of a by-the-book approach if we are seen as playing games. WH, White House, will be furious. Flynn's attorney, Sidney Powell, told Fox News after the document release that this persecution will have to be thrown out entirely.
May 12th, 2020. Sullivan moved to let outside groups submit their opinions in the case, indicating he would not immediately rule on the DOJ decision to dismiss the case. But what do you think? What are your thoughts on the Justice Department and what they did? And who do you think is to blame? Should President Trump grant Michael Flynn a full pardon? Let us know in the comments below, or jump on over to our Discord server, where you can not only interact with us and others via text, voice, or video, but you also have access to all of our archived research materials that we use to create our videos. Link is in the description. If you enjoy the content on The Conservative Take, please hit those like and subscribe buttons, the bell icon, and please share with your friends. It really helps to grow the channel as we have set a goal to reach 10,000 subscribers. Also, please check out some more videos that we have right here.